In this short presentation we're going to look at a comparison between crop circle evidence and evidence on 9/11 from the World Trade Center, including a look at iron microspheres, levitation and other effects. Is there a connection here? I'd like to start off by looking at some soil effects which were observed in a Canadian circle, and BLT Research have a study on the soil in a crop formation which was found in September 1999 in Edmonton, Alberta, Canada. The fact that the field was infested with Canadian thistle, which made it almost impossible to walk in the field without high protective boots, tended to further rule out the possibility that this formation had been mechanically produced. And you can see this full study at bltresearch.com/xrd.html. Clay minerals, that's illite and smectite, extracted from the surface soils taken at the same sampling locations of the plants, were submitted to X-ray diffraction analysis, and the results were submitted to Dr. Robert C. Reynolds Jr. In Reynolds' words, the possibility of crystal growth seems remote. The degree of physical pressure known to be involved in causing crystal growth in sedimentary deposits would have, had it been present, completely obliterated the plants, and the 600 to 800 degrees C temperatures over a period of several hours, known to be necessary to promote such crystal growth in the laboratory, would have, in the crop circle field, incinerated any plant material present. Additionally, the very brief bursts of possibly intense microwave radiation, thought to be the cause of node elongation and creation of expulsion cavities through heating and expansion of the internal stem moisture, could not account for crystal growth. So this is basically saying that we have evidence of high heat, but also no heating at the same time, or very little heating. So we've got two conflicting sets of results, really. And what drew my attention was that this was similar to what we saw at the World Trade Center in the research of Dr. Judy Wood. She's observed a number of these toasted cars, as she's called them, and, for example, we've got peculiar wilting of car doors and deformed window surrounds on cars on FDR Drive, but the rear end is in good shape with an inflated tyre. So in one location you've got evidence of what looks like high heat, and also evidence of no heat, in other words the back looks untouched. Similarly, with the right hand picture here, we've got a blistered car on FDR Drive, but with unburned upholstery and unburned plastic window moulding. So again, we've got evidence of heat and evidence of no heat simultaneously, which doesn't make sense. The other thing which I came across in the study of this evidence is that iron spheres found in the World Trade Center dust, and they were also found in Canadian crop circle samples. So is there a link here? Now, this photomicrograph, taken at 100 times magnification, of 10 to 40 micron diameter spherical magnetic particles of the type regularly found in crop circle soils. EDS reveals these spheres to be pure iron. The fact that they are magnetised reveals they were formed in a magnetic field. This is from W.C. Levengood from the BLT Research webpage. Now, we've got to just check on something here as to what happened at the World Trade Center and just dispel any notion that it burned down or was blown up with explosives. It did neither of those things. It actually turned to dust. In other words, some process was started which turned the towers to dust, and the seismic signature showed, for example, that the buildings didn't really hit the ground in any solid form, not in a way that created a significant or sizable enough seismic signature. And one particular view, which I've mentioned many times, is this spire. Now, some people are trying to say this is thermite. This is nonsense. Thermite doesn't cause this to happen. This is 70 columns of unsupported steel turning to dust. Stephen E. Jones and a few other people published this paper about World Trade Center dust. I believe this was published in 2007. And they claimed that iron-rich microspheres were found in the WTC dust. And they said that iron-rich spheroid from the USGS particle atlas of the World Trade Center dust, that's what was in this paper. And this sphere is about 20 microns in diameter, which is comparable to the spheres in the crop circle soil samples found by W.C. Levengood. So, is Steve Jones knowing what to cover up here? In other words, I think this is a signature of the technology which was used to destroy the World Trade Center, and in a somewhat different mode of operation is used to create some of the crop circles, some of the crop circle. So I am proposing that the spheres are a signature of the weapon or technology which is used to A. create an artificial gravity field in the case of crop circles, B. disrupt matter and cause it to disintegrate in the case of the World Trade Center. And it seems to affect metals specifically, perhaps the field interference is tuned so that it affects metal in the case of destroying the World Trade Center. There are also the other aspect of residual effects in crop circles and at the World Trade Center, and it seems that the energy, whatever it is, that's used to create these crop circles and destroy the World Trade Center does not dissipate immediately. With crop circles, we've seen 2003 formations are still visible in 2004 early crops in May. These photos are by Busty Taylor. Now, the residual effects of energy at the World Trade Center seem to have been shown not only in the World Trade Center site itself, but in the Bankers Trust building, because this building was repaired by July 2006, and then it was later dismantled, and is still being dismantled, I believe, to this day, as we speak now in 2010. So why repair a building and dismantle it? Obviously there seems to be some residual effect. And also at the World Trade Center site itself, the entrance to the site and some areas of the site continue to be hosed down 7 years after the events. Finally, we have another thread of evidence which seems to have a common thread between 9/11 and crop circles, and that is of levitation. Now this relates to an unusual crop circle event in 1989 which involved Colin Andrews at Cheesefoot Head when he was with Pat Delgado, who was levitated. The unusual events at White Crow occurred on the night of Saturday to Sunday, the 17th of 18th of June 1989, when 6 people climbed up Cheesefoot Head Hill and sat in a crop circle at midnight. Standing at the southern position with Colin, I was controlled to reach out and sweep energy from the sound into Colin's body. I do not know why. Colin then left me and returned to the group at the top of the circle. I turned towards the sound, and my arms were being pulled over the crop with an even greater force, and my body felt it was being pulled upward and forward out of the circle at some perilous angle. With all the strength I could muster, I managed to withdraw my arms, gradually sink down, and turn around, so I was now facing north. I eventually laid down on my stomach and began to inch my way up to the centre of the sloping circle floor, grabbing at bunches of flattened barley stems and pushing with my knees and feet. My progress was slow because whatever the short distance I made forward, a force kept pulling me back half that distance. I was becoming totally exhausted, and at that moment I wondered what I was fighting against. There was nothing tangible, but I was under the control of some force or of incredible strength. I hung on as best I could. I called out to Colin to come and help me. I remember instructing him to come down the eastern edge of the circle in a crouching position, which he did until he was level with me. We inclined our way towards each other until we grabbed hands, and it was then that both of us began to be pulled back and downwards. Fighting against this force, we managed to break away from it and crawl to the side of the circle, and, still crouching, we quickly worked our way back to the group at the north side. For some minutes we sat there answering questions as to what had happened, when suddenly some force levitated me to a height just brushing the flattened crop and floated me to the east side of the circle. Now I was feeling really scared. What force could have moved me a distance of about 3 metres whilst still in the same sitting position? It was here that I called to Colin and others to join me. After a few minutes we all decided to leave the circle. Now, what was interesting to me when I heard about this account, which was on Colin Andrews' website, was that it was posted, or what was posted, in November or December 2002. And this was a statement by Nick Pope. I had to refute the bizarre idea that the formations were caused by the testing of space-based laser or directed energy weapons, and dispel suggestions that the media coverage of the issue had been stifled by the use of denoticers. Why would Nick Pope be talking about directed energy weapons in November or December 2002? The other thing which has been seen here is levitation, and this also relates to what happened at the World Trade Center. Now, for those that want to study this, Dr. Wood has proposed, and I agree, that what was employed to destroy the World Trade Center was some technology which is similar to the Hutchison effect, which is what John Hutchison has used and demonstrated on many occasions in the last 20 years and more. Additional to this, we have the accounts of Michael Mako and Rennie Develer. Michael Mako said, I realised I couldn't get out from under the collapse. I dove under an ESU truck that was facing north on the west side of West Street. I dove under that and waited for the building to come down. When the building did come down, I actually thought I was trapped, and the truck was blown off me, pushed off me, I guess. It was not there. At that point, I was just really shocked and didn't know what was going on at that point. I didn't know. I was really, really shocked. So the truck appeared to be levitated from over him. René Develet: while we're walking, I realise that we only have 2 people. I see my vehicle. The seats are covered. I've still got my bag. I hold it like a trophy. Like people collect basketballs. I haven't touched whatever the force for it was. It was so strong that it went inside my bag. So he's talking of a force. So here's a summary. In comparing some of the evidence related to the destruction of the World Trade Center, we've seen some correspondence. Simultaneous effects which look like heat, but also a lack of heat or no heat, the effects on gravity and levitation, iron spheres in the dust and soil samples, ongoing effects at the site following the initial event. For further information on these topics, please see drjudywood.com, bltresearch.com and thehutchisoneffect.com. Thanks for watching this video.